What's up, y'all? Dick Hi-Fi again. We're going through the ABCs of the ASR10. Round 2 here. Just some more basics. I'm just going to touch on all these buttons, but real quick. We're not going to go in depth because, I mean, that's the whole video. So, you'll notice that there's 3 large buttons all the way over here to the left: load, command, and edit. Those are going to preempt pretty much every other command that you do there. You're either going to be loading, commanding, or editing something. The next group of buttons that you have here, there's 4 vertical array here: instrument, sequence, system, MIDI, and then effects. The instrument, you know, it'll be like load instrument, command instrument, or edit instrument. That obviously has anything to do with the instrument, which is a group of sounds, right? That's a group of sounds. They live in these blocks that we have here. It could be one sound, like this instrument. That's just the same sample up and down the keys, or it could be several sounds, but it lives within the same thing. So that's the instrument. So you'll be either loading them, commanding them, or editing them. Many ways to do all those things. The sequence is the way that these sounds are arranged in a musical arrangement from point A to point B, and usually looped. So you'll be, you know, loading sequences. Obviously, loading is getting anything off the disk into the bank here, into the memory bank. Commanding sequences, which, you know, there's things that you do to them while you're building them and while you're creating. Editing as well. You'll be monitoring and changing things through there. The system and MIDI, you're not going to use that much. There's a couple of commands in there that you use, not much editing or loading or anything like that. And then there's the effects. We'll get into the effects later, but basically the ASR10 has a group of 50 effects and 4 presets in each one. So just using those, you can get a lot of different things, but they're all fully editable. They can be edited. So that's basically those 4 buttons. Then you're going to see this little, you know, these numeric pads here. They have track, LFO, wave, layer, so on and so on. Track is going to deal with the instruments and how they correlate in the sequence. It's going to allow you to mute tracks, play tracks, solo them. The LFO, kind of a tie into the synthesizer aspect of the ASR. We're not going to get too much into that just yet. Maybe in some more advanced courses. The wave is very important when it's where how you edit the wave sample, how you change and alter the wave sample. Every single thing that you put in here is going to be contingent on that. The layer is kind of a group of those wave samples, so you can bunch them together so they all behave together. If you want them to kind of interact as you hit the key, like 3 or 4 different sounds to interact together, you'll be doing that within the layer. There's commands, there's edits. Pitch, the pitch button, obviously, all things pitch. It makes a pitch scale on the keyboard to where you can lay out the keyboard any way you want, not just in the traditional sense. One thing I will say: learn your keyboard. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Learn that, because as you are messing with the commands and the editing page, it's just going to help you know where you are. It's a map. The keyboard is a map, and if you're playing music, it's a map you should know. So just keep that in mind. I'll do that again. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. This is C sharp, D sharp. The ASR10 doesn't have flats. That's going into music theory, but just so you know, C sharp is right there. D sharp is right there. They're up one from the black key, up from the key. So that's pitch. Filters, roughly an EQ system for your sounds, cutting off low frequencies, cutting off high frequencies. The filter on the ASR10, the Ensoniq filters, they're famous. They're wonderful and really a good aid for you to help blend your sounds together. Very useful. Amp, all things volume, also the bus, whether you're panning left and right, whether you're sending it through effects, and, you know, obviously the volume. Then you have these 3 envelope buttons. The envelope, if you're familiar or have like a synthesizer background, you can already be familiar with the term envelope. But basically what it's doing is controlling the amplitude or the volume of your sample throughout a certain time. So, you know, you can make your sample ramp up, you can make it ramp down, you can make it do this. we'll get into that. We'll get into all of it. So, you know, this is your data entry slider, which let's just go to here, edit amp, and this is your volume. So this data entry slider, just a quick way to go from 0 to 99, just like that. So, and anywhere in between. This also does the same thing, just a lot slower. And then, you know, these directional buttons go from side to side, they go from page to page. Just a little note about these buttons, since we're on buttons right now. ASRs are old, and the buttons sometimes get funny. My little left directional button here, sometimes it gets funny. Sometimes you gotta touch them just right for it to work. You know, don't freak out if one of your buttons goes bad, because there's workarounds. You can get to pretty much any page. It's like taking a back door, but you can do it. Over here, we already talked about the instrument buttons a little bit. That's where your instruments live. Also corresponds to your tracks within a sequence. Over here you're going to see audio tracks, A and B. Audio track is basically the monitoring system for the inputs that you're putting into a board, say from a mixer or a microphone or anything. You're going to put them through here. They're kind of like channels into the ASR. And here's your levels. So this is stereo in, this is the left side, this is the right side. So the right, if you see the red light indicated, that means it's hot. You got a signal going in. These are both hot now. And if it's yellow, that means that one is selected to be edited. And if I had a sound going through here, you would see a signal and a peak. So green for signal, that means you got a good signal. Red, peak when it's getting a little above the threshold where it's going to clip. You don't really want clipping, but you want to put the hottest signal in here that you can. This is the for the sequencer here. You have stop, play, and record. This is your effects button right here. We'll throw up an effects page. That's when how you edit that. This, my favorite button, everybody's favorite button here, sample. That obviously starts off the fun. That starts the show. So that's the overview of the top of this thing. There's also, you see over here, a modulation wheel, and this is your pitch bend wheel, and there's two little mysterious gray buttons over there. We'll get into that. Those are pretty cool. Ensoniq feature. Also, let me say real quick, the EPS and the EPS 16 Plus, very similar to the ASR. There's a few differences. I'm not going to get into that. You can look it up. But pretty much, if you learn how to work one, it translates right into the other one. So you can use the information here to work thusly. So that's pretty much it for the basic overview of all the functions on the top of this thing. See you next time around.